So, you've been waiting a long time for the Sony a6700? Longer than Panasonic customers have been waiting for, well, a face detect autofocus system in their new cameras? Well, Sony's getting ready to release the a6700 with some rather bold specifications. Details coming up, but first, please do me a favor. Follow me on Twitter, but most importantly, please subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but most importantly, it really does help this channel grow. According to Sony Alpha rumors, the long-awaited, much-anticipated Sony Alpha 6700 is going to be announced in early July. Okay, don't get too excited. It's not going to be announced around Independence Day or July the 4th. So let's assume that because that's a rather big holiday in the United States, that the a6700 is probably going to be announced on a Tuesday in the second week of July. Pretty exciting, right? Pretty exciting. I mean, how long have we been waiting for this camera? I've had many people ask me over the last 12 months, Simon, where's the a6700 or the a7XXX? When are we getting a new Sony Alpha APS-C camera? Well, I've got some good news for you. First of all, let's talk about the sensor in this camera. It's going to have a 26 megapixel APS-C sensor, and not just any 26 megapixel APS-C sensor, but the exact same one found in the FX30. Now, while the rumors don't talk about a new Bionz XR image processor, yeah, it's pretty obvious that it is going to have a Bionz XR image processor and a new autofocus system. The new autofocus system that debuted with the Sony a7R5 back in October of 2022. And like the a7R5, that dedicated AI chip, it's also going to be in this new camera, the Sony a6700, so that's really good news. And of course, it's going to have IBIS, 5-axis IBIS, with 7 stops of stabilization. It's pretty impressive, 7 stops. Now that should make it pretty suitable that if you're doing walking or vlogging, but I find that when it comes to vlogging, the only cameras that really give you super steady stabilization is the Panasonic GH series. They do a really, really good job, but still, if you're hand holding, if you're moving slowly, I find that 7 stops is more than enough to stabilize things and will give you really, really good results. 7 stops, better than 5, isn't it? Okay, now let's talk about the video specifications, and I'm seeing 2 different sets of video specifications depending on which site you check. Now, Sony Alpha Rumors is saying, and this is the best sounding specs, it's going to do 4K, 24, 25, and 30 frames per second, 50 and 60 frames per second, 100 and 120 frames per second. Although in 120 and 100 frames per second, you are getting a 1.19 times crop. 120 frames per second, 100 frames per second in 4K for the a6700, that almost sounds a bit too good to be true. And why am I saying that? Well, if you take a look at any camera that currently offers you 4K at 120 frames per second, it's not a cheap camera. You're looking at least $2,000 US to get a camera that can do 4K 120. So 4K 120, well, some other sites around the internet are saying, yeah, no, it's only going to do 4K up to 60 frames per second. And for most people, 4K 60 is pretty sufficient. But 4K 120? Well, let's assume it can do it here. What kind of rolling shutter is it going to have? That's what I'm really curious to know. 4K 120? Well, based on the FX30, that camera is able to do 4K 120 quite well. So, I'll be really curious. So when are we getting the announcement? Well, I already gave that away, didn't I? It's supposed to be announced early July, but I think it's probably going to happen in the second week of July, and it's going to happen on a Tuesday. That's the most likely time. It's strange, you know, since 2020, we've been getting a lot more camera announcements in summer. Previously, once we ended May, that was it for camera announcements. I think Photokina used to be one of the last shows, and then once June hit, that was it for camera announcements until September. But in 2020, we had 2 rather big announcements. One from Sony, and that was the Sony a7S III announced in August. And 1 month before that, we had Canon completely surprise all of us with a Canon EOS R5, a camera that just seemed to leapfrog the competition. Canon, the first stills hybrid camera manufacturer to deliver 8K RAW up to 30 frames per second. And even today, the number of cameras that can deliver 8K RAW, I think it's just one. And oh, no, not one. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a mental block here. With all the coverage of Nikon, I shouldn't be forgetting this. Nikon can do 8K RAW up to 60 frames per second, And the Nikon Z8, it looks like it's going to be another camera to do 8K RAW, but that's it. Really 3 cameras, assuming the Nikon Z8, based on all the rumors that Peter's putting out at Nikon Rumors, that would give us a total of 3 cameras that can do 8K 30 frames per second RAW, even today. Now, there are other cameras that can do 8K, but yeah, they're not doing RAW. So we had those 2 cameras in the summer of 2020, and we've had other cameras announced in the summer since. And this year, it looks like we might be getting some cameras announced in the summer as well, such as a successor to the ZV-1. That's a new vlogging camera, the Mark II. I'm really not too sure what I think about that. Again, it's coming from Sony Alpha Rumors. And of course, the a6700. Yeah, early July. This is pretty exciting. I don't think I'm going to get a break this summer. Now, normally what I like about July and August is I get to relax. I don't get to put many videos out. Sometimes I can go 2 to 3 weeks without putting out a video. And quite often I get somebody, maybe it's you, sending me a message saying, hey, what's wrong? Are you okay? Have you stopped producing content? Nope, I haven't stopped producing content. I've just stopped producing content because there is no content. There's no news and rumors coming out. And you'll see this with a lot of websites that are actually trying to drive traffic. They'll put out pretty lame videos like, well, there's a 5% discount on software X. Yeah, 5% discount. That's not going to get me out of bed. I'm certainly not going to do a video for it. I'm not even going to tweet about it. But if you want to stay up to date on all the latest news and rumors regarding the Nikon a6700, regarding the Sony a6700, but you know, the one camera that a lot of people are looking forward to right now is the Nikon Z8, or what about new firmware updates for the Canon EOS R5, or even when we're going to get an announcement of the much anticipated Canon EOS R5 Mark II, or even the R1. Well, if you want to stay up to date on all those topics or all the major camera news and rumors, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel, but make sure you choose all notifications. And for all the minor news and rumors, for all those stories that aren't quite big enough to have their own separate video, or including discounts, for example, the Canon EOS R5 right now is $500 off, and there are some sales that give you the camera for $500 off, and Canon's $350 battery grip. I've got some links down below to Adorama and B&H. Some truly incredible deals coming out. Usually those deals aren't big enough to have their own separate video, so what I usually do is I'll tweet them out here, but again, any other news story or rumor that isn't quite big enough to have its own separate video, they also get tweeted out there as well. And if you are interested in purchasing the Nikon Z8, I do have some smart pre-order links here. While they won't work right now, as soon as the camera is available for pre-order, these links will light up, giving you options to buy not only the Z8, but if there are other different packages, such as the Z8 with a 24 to 240, or is it the 24 to 120, that's it, the 24 to 120, whatever different types of packages that are available, this will list them all off, instead of directing you to just a single option. Whew, I'm out of breath now. It's, what is it, 9 o'clock? I should be getting ready for bed, but here I am, dedicated, producing another video for you, and I think I'm going to have this one come out at around 7, 8, or 9 in the morning. But thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great week, and we'll see you again soon.